Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a really pivotal role in the pharma industry, becoming a qualified person, or QP.
That's right.
Now, the journey, it often looks quite linear from the outside, right? Maybe, straight from QC or QA.
Seems logical. But, when you actually talk to people who've done it, and importantly, the people who assess them, well, the reality is much richer, more complex, really.
Yeah, full of unexpected twists, turns, really diverse backgrounds, actually. And while some significant challenges, both personal and professional, it's a huge testament to dedication.
It really is. So our mission here in this deep dive is to give you a kind of shortcut to being genuinely well-informed about what it really takes.
We'll get into the emotional side, too, the highs, the lows, the intense prep work.
Exactly. And try to distill what makes a truly successful QP, using insights straight from, the people who've lived it.
Absolutely. So look, if you're maybe prepping for your own QP journey, or you're just curious about what goes on in pharmaceutical quality assurance, or maybe fascinated by the stories behind the medicines we take, well, this deep dive is for you.
Get ready for, well, some surprising facts, I think, some really personal stories, and hopefully some practical wisdom that you won't find in the textbooks.
Okay, let's kick things off by tackling a common idea. When we think qualified person, maybe the default image is someone who's spent their whole career in quality control or QA departments, right?
The standard path, you might say.
Yeah, seems the most direct route, doesn't it? But the stories we've looked at, the real-life experiences of QPs, they paint a completely different picture. It's this amazing tapestry of starting points that just blows that narrow assumption away.
It really does. And what's so fascinating is just how diverse these starting points are. It really suggests that, okay, yes, the technical knowledge is absolutely crucial. You can't do without it. But the QP role, it benefits hugely from having a much broader view, a more holistic understanding of how pharma operations work, all the different pieces.
So it's less about where you started, more about the variety of experience you picked up along the way.
Exactly. Take Vicky, for instance. Her journey started way back in '97. Not in QA, but right there on the lab bench.
Okay.
She was a chemistry grad, working at 3M Healthcare, very hands-on R&D work, focusing on meter-dose inhalers, asthma inhalers.
Right. I know the type.
And she wasn't just, looking at data sheets. She was physically working with liquid nitrogen pipe cutters.
Yeah.
Even stripping down HPLC pumps, the high-performance liquid chromatography equipment.
Wow, so really getting her hands dirty.
Totally. And this wasn't just lab work in isolation. It plugged her straight into supporting clinical trials, phase 2, moving to phase 3, then production scale-up, validating analytical methods. The whole life cycle, really. So that bench-level experience, it gave her this incredibly valuable, practical understanding, right from early development through to large-scale manufacturing. She understood the why behind things.
Which must make a huge difference later on when you're making those critical batch release decisions as a QP. You can picture it.
Precisely. You're not just reading about a deviation. You have a feel for what might actually be happening on the ground, or on the bench in her case.
That practical insight is so powerful. Now, Graham, his story sounds almost like the opposite end of the spectrum, doesn't it? Not what you'd expect for a quality person.
Well, yeah, quite different. Graham spent the first 20 years of his career deep in production operations.
Huge decades.
Yeah, across different pharma companies, different dosage forms too, tablets, liquids, you name it. 20 years right there on the factory floor seeing the day-to-day.
Wow.
He got massive experience in tech transfers.
Yeah.
Moving processes from R&D to manufacturing startups, qualification, validation, the whole shebang. He described himself, kind of jokingly, as a compliance-minded operations person. Said GMP, good manufacturing practice, was basically just common sense to him.
Huh. From that perspective, maybe it is.
And he was really candid, admitted he knew all the tricks, those little workarounds that can happen on the shop floor. And even said he probably invented one or two of them himself.
Okay, that's bold.
Okay.
But how did that position him for a QP role, that deep operational insight?
Well, that's the interesting question, isn't it? It meant he had this incredibly deep, intuitive understanding of things like critical process parameters. The temperatures, speeds, times you absolutely have to control.
Right.
And critical quality attributes the characteristics the final product must have. He understood design space practically, not just theoretically. These are the nitty-gritty details, vital for assessing batches and compliance.
And knowing the tricks, that probably made him more vigilant as a quality professional, right? He knew where to look.
You'd think so. That self-awareness likely made him much more astute. He could see potential issues from a truly informed, practical viewpoint, not just ticking boxes on a checklist.
Incredible. So sometimes that insider knowledge from operations is a huge asset. What about Catherine? Was she also from operations?
Catherine's path, yeah, it definitely included manufacturing management, but maybe with a broader start. She began on a 2-year graduate trainee program, MK Sharp and Dome.
Ah, one of those rotational programs.
Exactly. So she wasn't just in one place. She got exposure across the board: supply chain, planning, warehousing, the technical teams doing tech transfers, validations.
So a really wide view early on.
Yes. And that eventually led her into a direct management role right there in production on the shop floor, managing the teams directly.
Okay, so she saw it from the management side, dealing with the people and the day-to-day hiccups.
Precisely. It gave her this real-world, ground-level understanding of the daily challenges. The human element, the equipment, behaving unexpectedly, the stuff that happens.
The gap between the perfect procedure on paper and, well, reality.
Exactly that gap. It allowed her to see where written procedures might not quite match practical execution. And that fosters a very pragmatic, improvement-focused approach to quality.
Yeah.
Which is invaluable for a QP.
Yeah, you need that realism. Okay, now Adam's story sounds quite different again. Coming through the NHS, the technical pharmacy route. Tell us about that.
Adams is really interesting, actually. He knew he wanted to be a QP even before he finished university.
Really? That early?
Yeah. He was drawn to the technical side of pharmacy, likened it to fixing car engines, the kind of hands-on problem-solving mindset.
Okay, I like that analogy.
His journey included a placement in a specials manufacturing facility. These places make specialized, often custom, sometimes unlicensed meds for specific patients.
Right. Unique challenges there.
Definitely unique regulatory angles. Then he did his pre-reg year in technical services, chemotherapy, parenteral nutrition, so critical intravenous stuff.
Very high-risk product.
Extremely. And later he worked at a big NHS manufacturing unit, handling both aseptic and terminally sterilized products. So sterile products made under strict controls or sterilized at the very end.
So his focus was very technical, very patient-facing within the NHS system.
Yes, and often dealing with those specialized, unlicensed products. It's a different pathway, emphasizing that direct patient impact, often for very vulnerable people, and facing regulatory challenges you might not see as often in standard commercial pharma. It gave him a really rich perspective, especially on critical, bespoke medicines. He understood the urgency.
That direct line to the patient need is powerful. Okay, and finally, Ilona. Her background sounds maybe a bit more traditional, microbiology.
Ilona's background, yes, is rooted in microbiology. She worked in QC, quality control, and R&D in both clinical settings and pharma companies.
Covering sterile and non-sterile.
Yeah, both. Injectables, creams, tablets, the lot. So while you could say her path is more aligned with the traditional quality route, her deep scientific specialization in micro provided this incredibly meticulous, detail-oriented foundation. But what's interesting is she said she was inspired quite early on by working closely with QPs. She saw their holistic understanding, their in-depth knowledge. She appreciated the broader strategic decision-making part of the role, not just the testing.
So even within a more standard path, it was seeing the bigger picture that motivated her.
Exactly. That appreciation for the holistic view, combined with her scientific rigor, set her on a very deliberate path. It shows that understanding the why, the impact of the role, and seeing how all the pieces fit together, that's often the real driver.
What an incredible range. It completely shatters that idea of a single right background for a QP. It's clear that practical experience, operational insight, deep science, patient focus, they all bring something valuable to the table.
Absolutely. It's the blend that makes an effective, insightful QP.
Okay, so we've seen these diverse starting points. But then comes the actual QP training. And this is where it gets really interesting. Everyone we looked at describes it as a huge commitment, time, effort, resources. But it's clearly way more than just studying books or learning regulations. It sounds like a real test of personal endurance, emotional strength, and just the ability to juggle everything. A crucible, really.
Yeah, crucible is a good word for it.
Yeah.
And if you think about the bigger picture, the demanding nature isn't just about learning stuff. It almost acts as a really tough selection process in itself.
How so?
Well, it cultivates that high level of resilience, the adaptability, the sound judgment that you absolutely need as a QP in the real world, where the stakes are incredibly high, patient safety is on the line, and you're making big calls often under pressure.
Right. It prepares you for the reality of the job. And that juggling act you mentioned, that comes up again and again, life versus study.
Oh, constantly. That's a massive theme. Take Vicky again. Her story is pretty mind-blowing. She was working full-time doing the QP training modules, and she had a baby in January 2005. And somehow, she managed to draft her entire detailed QP application by September of that same year. Basically straight off maternity leave, more or less.
That's incredible dedication.
Isn't it? And Catherine echoed that. She actually did her Viva, that final big oral exam, while on maternity leave with 2 small children, a 2-year-old and a 5-month-old.
No way. How does she even manage that?
She described it as a bit crazy, which is probably an understatement.
Yeah.
But she said she was just fueled by sheer determination, finding study time late at night, early mornings, relying hugely on her partner and family support.
Just sheer grit.
Totally. And Phil faced it too, with a young baby at home. He ended up waking up between 4 and 6 a.m. just to get quiet, focused study time. He actually said he found it quite peaceful then, paradoxically, because it was the only time without distractions.
Finding the calm before the storm, I guess.
Yeah. And Ilona, she trained during the COVID pandemic, which added another layer of difficulty. She said time management was her biggest challenge, just carving out enough time for self-study alongside work and, well, everything else going on then.
These stories really hit home the level of sacrifice involved. It's not just about being smart. It's about stamina, organization, commitment.
Absolutely. It tests everything. And the support from their sponsors, the companies, often pushing them to high standards, that plays a huge role, too, keeping them going through those really tough patches.
You can see why, with that kind of pressure, the sheer amount to learn, the responsibility, it's no wonder imposter syndrome seems to be almost guaranteed.
Oh, it's huge. Almost everyone mentioned it. Confronting that self-doubt seems like a core part of the experience.
Really? Even experienced people like Graham?
Yep. Graham talked about getting this massive 600-page folder after his first module. And he just felt, in his words, like a bit of an imposter. Started questioning, am I good enough? Do I really know this stuff? And this is a guy with 20 years in operations.
Wow. If he felt like that.
Exactly. And Phil struggled with confidence, too. He felt he had less experience in some areas than others in his training group, worried he was wasting their time, wasting the company's big investment.
How did he cope?
He said he just compensated by studying incredibly hard, trying to absorb everything. And Ilona was very open about having weak moments, trying to know it all, she said, which is impossible.
Yeah.
Led straight to imposter syndrome, feeling panicky, constantly asking yourself, am I good enough for this? Will I ever be ready?
Why do you think it's so common on the QP path specifically?
Well, I think it's deeply tied to the immense responsibility, right? The legal, ethical weight of the role, plus the sheer vastness of the knowledge you need across so many different areas: chemistry, micro, engineering, law, quality systems.
Yeah, it's huge.
And the stakes are so high, patient safety. So it's natural to feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Overcoming it often seems to involve this really crucial mental shift.
It is.
Moving away from trying to be omniscient, knowing absolutely everything, which is impossible, towards valuing the knowledge you do have, and critically knowing when and where to confidently seek expert input, using your network, the SMEs, subject matter experts.
Right. Knowing how to find the answer is as important as knowing the answer itself.
Precisely. Ilona's breakthrough came when she realized she needed to give herself credit for what she knew and accept she couldn't know it all. That shift, she said, changed everything. It moved her from that constant stress mode into actually enjoying the process as she got closer to the VVA.
That's a massive shift. From feeling crushed by the weight of it all to embracing the learning process, limitations and all. It sounds like the training is as much about building character and that professional mindset as it is about just learning facts.
I think that's absolutely right. It forges the person as much as the professional.
Okay, so you get through the modules, the juggling, the self-doubt. And then comes the final hurdle, the VVA, that big oral exam.
The grand finale.
And it's not just a knowledge quiz, is it? It's this intense assessment of how you think, how you structure your arguments, how you communicate your expertise, all under serious pressure.
Exactly. It's a performance, in a way.
And the QPs we looked at, they shared some really invaluable, sometimes surprising strategies for getting through it. There's definitely an art to preparing for the VIA.
There really is. And what's striking is how much emphasis everyone puts on active learning and practical application. It really hammers home that just reading books isn't enough.
You have to engage with it differently.
You do. The VVA demands this really comprehensive, flexible understanding so you can apply principles to new situations, not just recite things you've memorized.
So what were some of the specific study methods they used?
Well, they were quite varied, actually. Vicky, for instance, used a mix of techniques. She did lunchtime learning sessions with a colleague, actively discussing things, quizzing each other.
Smart, active recall.
Yeah, and regularly practicing scenario questions to mimic the VVA style. She was also a big mind mapper, used visual diagrams, colors, even remembered where things were on her notes to help recall under pressure. Relied on her pictorial memory, she called it.
That's clever, using visual cues.
And Graham had this really unique strategy. He summarized his notes from the modules, then recorded himself reading them out loud. Then he'd listen back to these recordings on his 45-minute commute, on long drives, constantly reinforcing the material in a way that fit his schedule.
Like a personalized podcast. That's brilliant.
Isn't it? And Alona really stressed simplifying complex ideas, breaking them down, consolidating notes so they were easy to recall quickly, which is vital in that fast-paced VVA format.
So it's about actively processing the information, condensing it, making it your own, not just passively reading.
Exactly. Finding what works for your learning style to ensure you can access that knowledge rapidly when you're under the spotlight.
That makes sense. But beyond just knowing the stuff in your head, it sounds like actually practicing the VVA itself, doing mocks, is absolutely non-negotiable.
Oh, completely non-negotiable. The mock VV is critical. Everyone emphasizes this. It's the bridge between knowing it and performing under pressure.
So what did that involve for them?
Vicky did regular practice Vivas, plus full mock sessions with her sponsor, her boss. Refining those skills over a couple of years, she said. She recalled one terrifying 3-hour mock with Peter Goff and Martin Lush, two very well-known QP assessors. A real trial by fire.
Wow, sounds intense.
Yeah. Graham did about 5 actual mock Vivas, said his sponsor was incredible in guiding him through that. Alona talked about doing countless mocks with her sponsor, other QPs, study groups. She found them absolutely invaluable for getting used to articulating her thought process out loud. You know, not just having the answer, but explaining how you got there.
Right, verbalizing your reasoning.
And Phil's experience, especially failing the first time, really highlighted how crucial that practice is for building confidence and composure.
So the mocks simulate the pressure, force you to structure answers, find your weak spots, all in a safe space before the real thing.
Precisely. It prepares you for the unexpected questions, the quick shifts between topics that happen in the actual VVA.
Makes total sense. And it sounds like this isn't something you do in isolation either. Tapping into your network, getting diverse real-world exposure.
Yeah.
That seems just as important as hitting the books.
Absolutely. That came through loud and clear. QP development is a team sport, in a way.
How so?
Well, Vicky actively tapped into our networks at her company, Novartis. She made a point of visiting different types of facilities, API manufacturing, aseptic fill finish, clinical trial supply sites.
Broadening her practical view.
Exactly. Gaining diverse experience. She even hosted people from her network at her own site, creating this valuable back-and-forth exchange.
Nice.
And Mark, speaking as an assessor, strongly advised candidates, get as much practical experience as possible. Visit the whole supply chain, starting materials to pharmacy. He said assessors can usually tell the people who have practical experience because they ask better questions and scenarios. It shows deeper understanding.
Ah, interesting. Asking good questions is a sign of knowledge.
Definitely. Alona stressed how vital her network of very supportive QPs and trainee groups were for shared learning, practice, and clarifying things with subject matter experts. Phil, reflecting on his first Vivia, called his support network family, mentors, colleagues, one of the most important bits for getting through it. Catherine also pushed trainees to expand their network via alumni groups, training providers.
So it's about context, practical insights, testing your understanding against others' experiences, stuff you can't get from a textbook alone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially crucial for handling those less familiar areas. Assessors love to probe.
Right. And there was one last really practical, maybe overlooked tip about Vivia prep, using the application form itself.
Yes, Alona shared this, and it's such a smart, pragmatic piece of advice. She admitted she initially neglected her application form, just focused on learning the module content.
Like most people probably would, right? Treat it as paperwork.
Yeah. But then she found it much harder and more time-consuming to complete later, trying to remember details from months ago.
Oh, I can see that.
So her strong advice now is, start it before any modules are taken and do it module by module. Treat it like an essential document, a running to-do list to track your experience and guide your study as you go. Graham also tried to fill his out in real time.
So it becomes a dynamic study tool, not just an admin task.
Precisely. You actively document and reflect as you learn, identify gaps in your knowledge or experience systematically. It turns the whole application process into an ongoing self-assessment and a structured study plan.
That's brilliant. Turning bureaucracy into a strategic advantage, who knew? Okay, let's get into the VVA itself. The main event, it's the pinnacle, the final test. But it sounds like so much more than just an exam, more like a high-stakes performance under incredible pressure.
Yeah, a real crucible.
And the stories our guests shared. They're vivid, sometimes quite raw, navigating this intense experience, often with unexpected personal stuff piling on top.
Definitely. But what's interesting is how the VV, even though it's daunting, seems meticulously designed. It's not just testing recall. It's meant to reveal true understanding, adaptability, resilience, qualities that are absolutely essential for a practicing QP making critical decisions.
Right, it tests the whole package. And that pressure cooker environment.
Wow.
Some of the descriptions were intense.
They really were. Vicky called her VVA surreal. And you can understand why she was 6 months pregnant at the time.
Okay, that's pressure enough.
And on top of that, she'd recently lost her father suddenly. So she was managing intense personal grief and trying to get an earlier VV date because of the pregnancy. Just immense emotional load.
Unbelievable.
Graham, even though he planned everything meticulously, arrived the night before, walked the route to the venue. He still felt shattered halfway through the exam as the adrenaline just drained away.
I can imagine it must be exhausting.
Adam found it daunting, tough, nerve-wracking. He'd built it up in his mind for years, he said. Admitted the best bit about it was the end. Just relief.
Huh, yeah, I bet.
Ilona faced this really tough setting. A fast-paced, intense 2-hour VV in a room that was 35 degrees Celsius.
35 degrees in a suit.
In a suit. She said the questions just jumped rapidly from one topic to another. No small talk from the assessors. Just relentless.
Wow.
And Phil's first VV attempt, the one he failed, he was hugely impacted by external stuff. His company announced redundancies. His wife lost her job around the same time. Massive financial stress on top of everything else.
Oh, man. That's brutal.
It really shows the VV isn't just a mental test. It's emotional, psychological, even physical sometimes. Preparation helps, obviously, but unexpected life events can massively compound the pressure. Adaptability and just sheer mental grit become so crucial.
It's incredible what people push through, which makes those moments where they find their footing, those breakthrough moments of confidence, even more powerful.
Oh, absolutely. Those are the moments that really stand out, and they're incredibly inspiring. Vicky remembered seeing another candidate during her Viva actually stop themselves mid-answer.
In front of the assessors.
Right in front of them. And confidently say, "Can I start that again, please? That isn't where I want to go."
Wow, takes guts.
But it showed a key QP skill, right? Knowing what you don't know or recognizing you're going down the wrong path and having the confidence to admit it and self-correct, not just trying to bluff.
That's real self-awareness.
Exactly.
Right.
And Phil, when he passed his second Viva, he said he went in with a different mindset, much more confident. He even mentioned gently telling one of the assessors that they were wrong on a point.
Seriously?
Yeah. Not arrogantly, but just from a place of newfound confidence in his own knowledge.
That's a huge turnaround.
It is. Ilona had that pivotal mental shift too, realizing it was about understanding principles, not just verbatim quoting.
Oh.
That allowed her to shift from stress mode into actually enjoying the process mode by trusting her knowledge and accepting she couldn't know everything.
Embracing the challenge rather than fearing it.
Precisely. And Mark, the assessor, he saw success in candidates who communicated clearly, logically, confidently, but also critically. Those who could acknowledge gaps, but explain how they'd find the answer or who they'd consult.
So not pretending to know everything.
Right. And he found it particularly rewarding seeing candidates return after failing, having clearly really put the effort in to get more practical experience. He said that effort just shone through, and helping them succeed was one of the best parts of being an assessor.
That's great to hear.
These breakthroughs really show the VV isn't about perfection. It's about critical thinking, self-awareness, confidence under pressure, navigating uncertainty, the ability to self-correct, challenge appropriately, adapt your mindset. Those are the hallmarks assessors are looking for.
Those are amazing stories. The ability to reset, pivot, even challenge respectfully. That speaks volumes about their capability and integrity. Real mastery under fire.
Okay, so we've heard the personal journeys. Now let's look through the eyes of someone who's been on the other side of the table. An assessor, like Mark, who's seen countless candidates. What really separates the successful ones from those who stumble?
Yeah, that perspective is crucial.
It seems it's not just what you know, but really how you apply it, communicate it, especially when the pressure's on.
Exactly. If you connect it back, the VV isn't really about testing if you memorize the textbook. It's about evaluating that practical judgment, the critical thinking, the communication skills that a QP needs every single day to protect public health. It's about readiness for the real world.
So what did Mark identify as the common reasons people don't succeed in the VVA? The common pitfalls?
He pointed at a few key things based on his experience. Firstly, a big one is the inability to apply knowledge in scenario questions.
Meaning they know the theory but can't use it, pretty much. They might be able to recite a regulation, but when you give them a realistic problem, say, on manufacturing deviation, they struggle to articulate a clear, risk-based solution. They can't bridge theory and practice.
Okay, I see.
Secondly, struggling to extrapolate the knowledge to less familiar areas. So maybe someone's brilliant on sterile products, but you ask them a question about solid dose manufacturing or maybe biologics, and they falter. It suggests their foundational knowledge isn't broad enough.
Often linked to lack of practical experience across different areas.
Often, yes. Their exposure might have been too narrow. Then he mentioned severe nerves. Some people, even if they know their stuff, just cannot handle that intense VVA environment. The pressure gets to them.
The human factor.
Absolutely. And finally, sometimes it's just a lack of prep, often down to not enough mock practice or maybe insufficient support from their sponsor. They just weren't ready for the format and intensity.
Did he mention specific subject areas that tend to trip people up more often?
He did. He flagged a few modules, roles and professional duties, really understanding the QP's legal and ethical responsibilities. The pharmaceutical quality system, not just knowing it exists, but how it works, how it's managed. Formulation and processing, microbiology, especially for steriles, obviously, and even packaging, which can be more complex than it sounds.
So it really emphasizes that the VEV tests application, adaptability, breadth of knowledge, and handling pressure, not just recall.
Exactly. And managing your emotional state is just as critical as knowing the facts.
Okay, so on the flip side, what makes a candidate really stand out? What were the qualities Mark looked for?
Well, he praised candidates who show a really good understanding of the core modules and the key principles. They've got the fundamentals down cold.
Solid foundation.
Yeah. And in those scenario questions, the best ones quickly identify what the key issues are. They immediately start thinking about quality risk management, patient safety, product quality, compliance impact.
They cut straight to the heart of the problem.
Right. And interestingly, he said a key sign of a strong candidate is when they start asking very good questions back during the scenario.
Ah, we heard that earlier.
Yes. It's not stalling. It actually demonstrates knowledge and practical experience. It shows they're thinking about the implications. Strong candidates can handle unfamiliar areas using logical, structured thinking, always going back to first principles, patient risk, compliance risk.
And knowing their limits.
Crucially, knowing when to say, okay, I need to check that specific detail or I'd consult this expert. They communicate clearly, confidently. Avoid being vague.
No waffling.
No waffling. And again, he really highlighted those who came back after failing, having clearly worked hard to gain practical experience. That effort shining through was, for him, incredibly rewarding to see. And maybe most importantly, successful candidates always think about the patient. Their decisions are grounded in patient safety, not just getting lost in minor process details.
That patient focus keeps coming up. So Mark's view suggests it's not just innate ability, right? A lot of these critical skills, thinking, applying, communicating, that patient mindset, are learned and developed.
It strongly suggests that, yes, foundational knowledge is the ticket to the game, but these learned behaviors, these cultivated attributes, are what make an exceptional QP.
And throughout all this, the sponsor's role, it seems pivotal, almost like a gatekeeper.
Absolutely pivotal. Mark was unequivocal. The sponsor's role is absolutely key, especially in deciding when someone is truly ready for the VVA.
They have to make that tough call.
They do. He stressed sponsors must be honest. They shouldn't let people go through if they aren't genuinely ready. He said it's not fair on the candidate, and honestly, it's a failure in your professional duties as a sponsor to recommend someone who isn't prepared.
That's a big responsibility for the sponsor.
Huge. Vicky's experience backed this up. Her sponsor held her to a much higher standard than she perhaps wanted at the time, but looking back, she was very glad that they did because it prepared her properly. Graham also credited his sponsor, Helen Vicky, as incredible in his prep.
So the sponsor is the primary guide, the mentor, but also the guardian of standards for the whole profession. That relationship is fundamental
Foundational, yeah.
to training, the assessment, and ultimately the integrity of the QP role itself.
Right, let's try and distill all of this. After hearing these powerful stories, the challenges, the breakthroughs, the assessor's view, what are the core lessons for anyone thinking about or already on this demanding QP path?
Yeah, what really stands out?
It seems to boil down to a few key principles that just keep cropping up. Principles that lead to success, and it sounds like real fulfillment in the role. I think so too. And what's interesting is how this wisdom seems universal across their different experiences. It really shows that being a QP isn't just a job title. It's a deep commitment that blends that technical know-how with really vital human qualities: resilience, ethics, self-awareness.
Okay, so lesson number 1 seems to be about taking ownership, right? Proactive development is essential.
Absolutely non-negotiable. Catherine put it really forcefully. You have to be proactive. You have to champion your own development. She said, you can't expect others to do this for you. It has to come from within.
A commitment to lifelong learning, basically.
Yes. And Alona's regret about neglecting her application form fits here too. Her advice to start it early: use it as a to-do list, a guide that's taking proactive control of your learning and documentation.
So it's about owning your journey, planning strategically, constantly adapting, not waiting to be told what to learn next.
Exactly. Ensuring you stay competent and relevant long after you qualify.
Okay, lesson 2. You absolutely cannot do it alone. The power of your network and mentorship seems indispensable.
Totally indispensable. Phil's story about failing the VVA really drove this home. He said his great support network, family, mentors, colleagues, was critical for bouncing back. His advice: build that network early, inside and outside your company. People you can talk to confidentially, bounce ideas off.
A personal advisory board.
Kind of, yeah. Mark, the assessor, called the QP network absolutely critical and highlighted the value of having a mentor for guidance, support, opening doors to experience. Catherine encourages trainees to expand their network constantly. Alona found her network and study groups absolutely invaluable for practice and understanding.
So even though the QP ultimately makes the call alone, the journey there shouldn't be solitary.
Definitely not. Building those relationships, seeking mentorship, it's vital for navigating challenges, sharing knowledge, and just continuous learning in such a complex field.
Right. Lesson 3 feels like the bedrock of it all. That unwavering focus on the patient and strong ethical grounding.
Yes, the core purpose. Adam's granny test is such a perfect encapsulation of this, isn't it?
It really is. What's the right thing to do for the patient?
He stressed how QPs are patient advocates, especially in those tricky gray areas. His personal story about his mother and chemotherapy really underscored his passion for making sure critical medicines are safe and available.
That personal connection makes it real.
It does, and Mark, the assessor, said the better candidates always think about the patient, prioritizing safety above everything. Catherine's motivation was ensuring good quality product was out there. Vicky saw the role as just common sense and doing the right thing for patient safety.
So it's not just a regulatory requirement, it's a deep ethical responsibility that drives them. It's the why.
Exactly. It's what provides that profound job satisfaction beyond just the technical tasks. It's about safeguarding health.
And finally, lesson 4, handling the emotional side. Cultivating resilience and confidence, especially when things get tough.
Yeah, the inner game is just as important as the outer game. Phil's journey shows that failing the VVO, while devastating at the time, wasn't the end. You can pick yourself up. His success the second time came from a more confident mindset, less pressure.
And being okay with not knowing everything?
Crucial.
Yeah.
He emphasized it's okay to say, I don't know. But you must know how and where to find the answer or who to ask. Alona's struggle with trying to know it all led to imposter syndrome, but her breakthrough was giving yourself credit and realizing you leverage expertise. You don't have to be all the expertise.
It was liberating.
It is. Vicky learned that being aware of what you don't know is also a great strength. And you have to go into the VVA believing I can pass and I deserve to pass.
So developing self-belief, managing expectations, bouncing back, these aren't just nice-to-haves. They're essential QP attributes for dealing with the pressure and uncertainty of the role.
Absolutely essential. The psychological journey is as critical as the intellectual one.
Wow. These are such powerful lessons, not just for aspiring QPs, really, but for anyone tackling a major challenge. So we've really taken a deep dive today into the real, often hidden journeys of becoming a qualified person. We've seen the surprising diversity of paths to the role, the intense challenges during the training, and the sheer dedication needed for the Viva.
We've heard about the emotional highs and lows, the moments of breakthrough, and got some crucial insights from an assessor's viewpoint on what truly matters.
And remember, if you're on this path, your unique background, your experiences, they aren't just steps along the way, they're potential strengths that can really set you apart.
Yeah, the path is undeniably tough, demanding, often personally challenging. But as we've heard, it's also deeply rewarding, making a vital difference in people's lives.
So as we wrap up, here's something for you to chew on.
Boy.
What unconventional skill, maybe your unexpected personal experience from your life, could actually be your unique advantage in contributing to patient safety and quality?
That's a great question, because it often seems to be that blend, that mix of the technical and the personal, that creates those truly exceptional QPs.
Keep asking why. Keep digging into the complexities of quality.
And definitely keep connecting with the amazing network of professionals who support this absolutely critical field.